Anthropologists are interested in patterns. In this case, we define a pattern in anthropology to be any cultural or biological phenomenon that is repeated. Its repetition and the social unit of research that we select makes the pattern viable to be discussed scientifically. So what makes these patterns scientific? Well, first, scientific patterns are observable over time and space. Second, we can measure them. Third, we can process them and attempt to explain them through the use of hypothesis testing. And fourth and finally, we can eventually predict a situation, a cultural situation, when these patterns will reoccur. So what are some examples of anthropological patterns? Well, the first example I want to give you is economic in nature. Economic patterns cover a wide range of activities or actions that are associated with meeting one's daily subsistence needs or filling one's belly. E. Evans Pritchard was an early ethnographer who took a look at culture through an economic lens. Evans Pritchard is considered to be the father of modern ethnography, or the study of a single culture, by a cultural anthropologist. He studied the Nuer of the Central Sudan in the early and mid-1940s. Though his conclusions were political in nature, one important factor in understanding how the Nuer politically organized themselves was their mode of subsistence, or their livelihood. In this case, they were herders, and they were agriculturalists, so the herd was their primary source of wealth. Evans Pritchard focused on the herd. Pritchard then went ahead and started to classify or categorize the patterns he witnessed. His first category was descriptive in nature. Descriptive patterns are the raw material that's initially coded or gathered by the ethnographer. He then moved to associational or analytic patterns. These are patterns that are used to explain and compare phenomenon within a culture and between cultures. Patterns can also be political in nature. In the American Northwest, historically there has been an important feasting ritual known as potlatch. It has been celebrated by people of four major language communities: the Tlingit, the Tsimshian, the Kwakiutl, and the Haida. This institution of potlatch is understood by anthropologists to be political in nature. At specific times of the year, often relating to a season in the food gathering cycle, a clan elder or village chief will initiate and invite members of other clans, or rival clans even, to join him at this feasting ritual. At these potlatches, huge amounts of food, in this case surplus food, and symbols of power and value are being shared with all who attend. The chief or clansman throwing the potlatch will attempt to do one of two things. First, cement his place of leadership by giving all he can. And second, cement his prestige within his clan by humiliating those of other clans, giving great gifts. This system of gift exchange establishes a system of governance among the language communities that celebrate it. The resources controlled by leaders are symbolic of their power. As they give these away and surround themselves with religious and social icons and symbols, they are celebrating their leadership and reinforcing their leadership in the minds of those who attend, both within the clan and from other clans. When anthropologists observe such rituals, they ask several questions in relation to how power is being managed. They ask, who is invited? Where do people of different social statuses sit in relation to each other? And how are gifts exchanged? Who's giving the gifts? Who's receiving the gifts? And what kinds of gifts are being given and received? As you can imagine, in the potlatch ritual, or in how the Nuer interact with their primary source of wealth, in this case the herd, there are many patterns occurring simultaneously. Let's look at potlatch for just a moment to understand how these patterns are analyzed. So in this potlatch ritual, we see a myriad of associational patterns. First, on the surface, this is a group of ritual patterns that maintain political power for clan leadership. Second, beneath this, we have economic patterns, patterns of wealth redistribution. Third, and the third point here splits in two, we see normative patterns. These are expectations. Expectations on the part of the people who give the potlatch and those that attend. Now, as I said, this breaks into two. Under this third category, we have obligatory patterns, such as the giving of the potlatch in order to maintain power. Or we have preferential patterns. These are patterns such as attending the potlatch based upon those invitations that were initially sent out by the clan elder, leader, or chief. Whatever the case is, ultimately the chief maintains his power, his political power, by being the most powerful commoner in the village. His reckless giving ensures him of his symbolic political power. Let's take a look now at anthropological holism and what this means to the work of anthropologists. The patterns that we analyze in anthropology in our research must conform to several qualities if they are to be prized by anthropological scholars. We will return to these characteristics time and again as we look at examples of culture, of biology, of archaeology for this course. So what are some of these patterns as they relate to anthropological holism, or looking at things in a total or complete manner? Well, first, anthropologists look for qualities of predictability. Are these patterns repetitive? Second, anthropologists look for qualities of change over time, because we know that cultural patterns are important to human survival. Third, are they part of both the individual and the collective? What can we learn about the collective and the individual from observing these patterns? And fourth and finally, can researchers from outside the local community or larger society or regional culture or language tradition truly understand and analyze what is occurring in the village, in the town, in the city, in the church, wherever the cultural context is?